Hey y'all, I am super excited. I found my very first fossil ever. This is a fossil of a tire imprint from an ancient wheeled machine that ran here no telling how long ago. This fossil right here is definitive proof that at one time in ancient history, it did actually used to rain in this area. All right, folks, for the last 15 years or so, we've been working really hard towards improving our soils and hopefully at some point getting to where we drought-proof our crop. Now, over the course of those years, at times I felt like just throwing in the towel, abandoning the approach just because of the difficulties, the problems we faced, the problems we've had to solve and everything. And I've documented a lot of those failures, trials and tribulations over the course of the last 5 years that we've been on YouTube. But anyway, this year we're in the midst of the worst drought I've ever experienced in my career. We're going on, I think it's 52 days with hardly any measurable rainfall, scorching hot temperatures, and just a prime recipe for disaster. However, I think this year the fruits of our labor might be starting to pay off some. Is it going to keep us in the black this year? Probably not. But I do think it might be what allows us to be able to farm again next year. So we're going to go out, check some crops today. Probably going to be the last crop tour we do this year before actual harvest. So let's just go out there and see how well the crops are faring. Anyway, it's been a pretty dang busy day today. We started out this morning with a big group of farmers and agronomists from Argentina who came all the way up here to our farm to learn more about our soil health practices and trying to find some tips and tricks that I use and to help them further their regenerative agricultural purposes. So anyway, had a great time meeting with them this morning, and then later on we got our corn maze sprayed with a fungicide. We had a drone come out here to spray it. It's only 7 acres, and you think with the drought, why are you spraying a fungicide on corn? Well, for one thing, we're not planting it for the grain, we're planting it for the corn maze. We want that corn plant to stay green and strong as long as possible, and with southern rust just literally everywhere this year, that southern rust, even though it's not going to yield anything and the corn looks like crap, that southern rust will kill it prematurely. It'll all be falling down, and I know we won't have a corn maze then. So that's why we sprayed it, strictly to keep it green and alive as long as possible. All right, first up on the crop tour is going to be some corn here in Crockett County. Now, right around here, around our shop in Crockett County, is where we've had the least amount of rain. We've had a grand total of a ½ inch of rain total in the last 52 days, and most of that came in 1/10 of an inch or less rains. And when it gets dry like that, you get a 1/10 of an inch. At best, all you're going to do is get the plant wet. Very little of it is actually going to reach the ground. So we've kind of got a mixed bag on this farm. We got some really thin hill ground with like 2 to 4 inches of topsoil before we hit the fragipan, and then here real close by we get into some deeper soils. So this ought to be a pretty good representation of what the corn is going to look like here in Crockett County. So anyway, right here, obviously we're in some thinner ground. Now, I planned for this to not be great corn, so we didn't put a lot of inputs on it. We planted it at a low population, somewhere around 17 to 20,000 plants per acre. So, I mean, the stalks and everything look good, even if it did die prematurely. So let's peel back a few of these ears and see what it looks like. All right, this variety here is 6744, and you know, we've got ears here, unlike 2022 where we didn't have very many ears at all. So we've got full-size ears, pollinated out all the way. However, these ears are small. I can definitely tell we don't have the kernel size out here just because we're on a hot, thin spot. You know, this stuff was, you know, our last rain on this corn was right before it tasseled. So everything you see was made off of soil moisture reserves. All right, as far as ear size, this one is 18 around, 36 long. This one is 16 around, 40 long. And this one is 16 around, 35 long. So you tell, I mean, we've got the kernel count to have good, solid yields on this farm. However, when I break the cob open, I think that's what's going to tell us a story on what the yield destruction has been. All right, looking right here, we don't have the best seed size. Those are kind of smallish kernels. If you look at that one right there, we have hit black layer. But if you look around the base of those kernels right there, some of them you can tell that, I wish I had three hands, I'd point to it. But like right there at the 3 o'clock position, that kernel, you can tell it looks like the milk line didn't reach all the way to the base of the kernel. So what we're going to be dealing with this year, and like this one is another good example. You see how thin that kernel is at the base. What we're dealing with this year is these kernels just did not feel all the way out because the plant ran out of resources. Before it ever hit black layer, the corn plant was already fired up way up here beyond the ear leaf and everything. And we just did not have the reserves to completely fill out these kernels. You know, we got the kernel count to make really good yields. We're not going to have the kernel weight to make really good yields this year. But I mean, for this being a poor spot of the field, this corn should not look this good. You know, I have no idea what it's going to yield because I have no idea how many kernels it's going to take to make a bushel. You know, we normally figure on about 90,000 kernels per bushel. If we got good growing conditions, you know, we might bump that up to 65, 70,000 kernels per bushel. But this year, I have no idea what they're going to be, but I doubt they're going to be 90,000 kernels per bushel. It might take 110,000 kernels to make a bushel this year. We just don't know. And also this corn, even though it looks like it's ready for harvest, there's a lot of excess moisture in the base of that kernel because the plant ran out of resources to be able to put starch in the base of those kernels and push all that moisture out. So these kernels are going to take longer to dry out to be ready for harvest. Overall, I'm very impressed with what it's doing based upon the conditions we've had, but this is not going to be good corn here. I'm going to guess 120, 130 bushels here maybe. But anyway, we're on really thin ground. We walk 100 yards that way. We're going to be in some good deep ground. Let's see what it looks like. All right, here we are, same field, about 100 yards away from the previous spot. You can tell night and day difference here. I mean, this corn has really held on. It's fired up, don't get me wrong, and you know, it's starting to die down because this corn is pretty much done. Our fungicide finally played out, and we've got southern rust coming in pretty heavy, but it's beyond the point the southern rust is going to do any damage. But can you imagine what this would look like if we hadn't sprayed a fungicide? This corn would be completely toast by now. And then looking at some ears, we got one that's heavy enough it fell down. We got dang good looking ears. That's 18 around, 20 around. This is 16 around, 18 around, 16 around, 18 around, and they're all about, you know, 34 to 38 kernels long. And I want to say this was planted at about 29,000 population. So we've got the ear count, we've got the kernel count to make excellent corn in this area. Well, let's break it open, see what the kernel's like. All right, here's one of the 18 rounds, and I mean, look at that. We've got some really deep kernels, and look at the one here on the left-hand side. You can see the very base of that milk line. It's almost it's almost down there to the base of the kernel. And I picked a couple of kernels, and it's not quite black layered yet. I mean, it's almost there. It's almost there. So I think we got some pretty dang good yield potential here. 100% yield potential of what we had earlier if we caught some rains? No, we've lost some yield. Those kernels are still going to be lighter than what they normally did. But considering it's gone through, I mean, it absolutely blows me away how good this looks. You know, the last time we had a drought this bad in 2007, before I ever started soil health practices, I can guarantee you that corn did not look anywhere as close to that. Heck, even my best corn that year didn't even look as good as what I first showed you in the poor spot of the field. So basically, most of my ground here in Crockett County is not going to look like this. Most of my ground here in Crockett County is thin hill ground, and it's going to be, a lot of it's going to be better than the first part I showed you, but it's not going to be anywhere close to this. It's just going to be kind of a mixed bag in between. So what do I think my corn's going to yield? Well, here in Crockett County, if I come out with an average of say 140 to 145 bushels per acre, I will be tickled pink. We're still going to lose about $80 to $100 per acre based on $4 corn, but it's not going to be near as bad as what it could have been. And I actually think, unless we get a rain like tonight, I think corn's going to be my best crop, because what I'm going to show you later on, the other crops, because they take longer to mature, they set their crop later, the drought's affecting them more than what the corn is. So soil health has definitely helped us. We're not where we want to be yet, but we're getting there. Because corn pulls out, I think it's like 1.75 inches of rain per week, and we're going on 7.5 weeks since we had our last rain, and everything you see right here is strictly off soil moisture reserves. Heck, if we just had one decent rain halfway through that period, we could be looking at a monster crop for the most part ourselves. All right, welcome back to our side-by-side. We're back in the thin spot again. Let me show you what could be a problem this harvest. All right, that one's holding on pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh, see how that one just pushed over? You see how it pushed over? We've got some really weak stalks this year because the corn plant absolutely cannibalized itself, trying to pull as much resources as it could to put towards the year. So normally it wouldn't be near that bad, but because of the lack of moisture, the lack of nutrient uptake, because there's no moisture in the soil, these plants, I mean, they just absolutely ate themselves up. And as a result, we've got weak shanks holding the ear on, and we've got weak stalks. So, you know, as soon as this is ready to harvest, we need to get in here and get this cut. Otherwise, we're gonna have a lot of corn on the ground potentially. All right, next up, let's look at some soybeans. We're in our full season beans now, and I firmly believe that this year soybeans will be my worst crop. Now, whether it's full season beans is my worst crop or my double crop soybeans is my worst crop, depends on if and when we start receiving rain this year. If we get a rain here within the next few days and then we get moisture after that, full season beans will probably be my worst crop. If we don't get any more rain and we're just stuck with what we got, double crop soybeans will be my worst crop. But anyway, here on this farm, this is one of my thinnest hill grounds, one of two farms I've got full season beans on. The other one in Madison County, got really deep soils, it's in a bottom. Those beans look really, really good. I mean, they've got really good yield potential. On this farm, on the hill parts of this farm, not so much. As you can tell, our soybeans have started turning, and they're not ready to turn. Our soybeans should not be turning color and dropping leaves for at least another 3 weeks, but they're prematurely giving up the ghost because there is simply no moisture whatsoever out here. I mean, these soybeans are done. They've already dropped probably 50% of their leaves, and you know, there's some pods on them, but you can tell, like right here, I mean, look how many small pods that just never grew because the plant did not have any resources whatsoever. Like right here in this spot, I mean, we don't have very many full-size pods, and the pods that we do have, I mean, I mean, they're flat. There's not hardly anything in there. You see, look how small those beans are. And when they mature out and dry up, I mean, they're not even going to be the size of BBs. These are going to be the smallest beans I've perhaps ever cut in my life. And I mean, looking at these beans, if we got a rain today, I mean, these beans will not recover. They've lost too much foliage. It might help fill out what's on the plant a little bit. But, you know, you see all these little pods, you know, it's aborted right here. You know, we had a good soybean factory here at one point that could have produced good yields, but there's no saving these beans here whatsoever. And the problem is probably at least 2/3 of this farm is super thin hill ground. Now if you look, you know, we're in a really drought hurt area here, just you know, 20 yards that way, you can see it's a lot darker green, so we got kind of a swell. This is where all of our topsoil eroded to, is right here. So let's walk over there and see what it looks like. All right in this spot, this is a lot better. I mean, we're still on hill ground, but the soils are definitely a lot deeper. And peel back plant, I mean, look, we got 4 times as many pods on the plant as what we did just 20 yards away. And then looking at these pods, they're filled out definitely a lot more than what we were just looking at. Let's pick this one, peel it back, see what the beans look like inside. Looking in here, I mean, these beans definitely look a lot bigger. They're not big by any means, don't get me wrong. These are not good looking beans, but these might make actual BBs when they dry down, as opposed to the others, which could just float out the back of the combine for all I know. So right here in this spot, looking at the size of the beans, how many pods we got on the plant, and just judging from prior experience, if I had to guess, these right here are probably going to be somewhere between 35 and 45 bushel beans right here. 45 being the absolute upper estimate. Probably going to be a lot closer to 35, whereas where we were right over there, I mean, we're probably talking about 10 bushel beans, maybe 15 if I just happen to check a bad spot, if we're lucky. And that's what we're going to see on this farm. We're going to have some fair, decent areas, but we're going to have a whole lot more to where, I mean, I got the hydrostat pushed as forward as far on the combine as it will go, because we're just not bringing very much into the combine. I think that's what's going to happen with these full season beans. Now on this farm, we got 2 real nice sized bottoms. I'll walk over there, show you what they look like. They should look even better than this, and we should have some really good potential in those fields. All right, we're on the same farm, but we're down in a really good deep bottom. Unfortunately, our bottom ground on this farm only accounts for about 25% of the acreage on this farm. So if it all looked like this, well, I'd be absolutely tickled pink. I mean, you know, these beans are up here, you know, belly tall on me, just look absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, just look at the pod load on them, just a tremendous pod load. I mean, one thing that these soybeans have not hurt for this year is a lack of sunlight, and that is a driver on soybean yield. However, sunlight's not going to do you any good if you don't have any moisture in the soil. But down here in this bottom, good deep soils, and you see what's possible. I mean, just they look absolutely phenomenal. These are going to, even if we don't get any more rain the rest of the year, this little field right here is going to be some fantastic beans. Now, these things are not filled all the way out. You know, you can tell, you know, these beans are not big size. However, they're not supposed to be yet. These beans have got another 3 weeks at least of grain fill in them before they naturally mature. So this is not the final size of the beans, unlike on top of the hill where the plants had given up. Those are the final size of the beans up there, which are going to be extremely tiny. These still have a chance to produce some pretty good, decent sized beans. Maybe not, you know, record yield size beans, but they're going to be good quality. You can see right here, you know, we do have a little bit of frog eye here. We did spray a cheap fungicide on here that kind of stopped the spread of frog eye, and frog eye is really not going to be a factor in yield or anything else. But this little field, this, you know, 20% of this farm is going to be absolutely phenomenal. You know, right down here, looking at these, I mean, these are 70, 75 bushel potential beans right here. If we'd gotten rain, I mean, they could be upwards of 85, 95 bushel potential beans. But, you know, another rain would have really gone a long ways on these. You know, but it doesn't matter how good these look. When 75% of the farm looks like it could be somewhere between 10 and 20 bushels an acre, that'll pull the average down in a hurry. Next up, let's go look at my double crop beans. All right, our double crop beans. We're going to start with some of the best of the best. We're over here on the Fisher farm, and the bottom on this farm, real deep soils. Moisture has not really played a factor on this farm yet, and you can tell you know, we got a mixture of original plant and replanted out here. You can tell these right here, original plant, they're about belly tall, and look at the pod load on that. I mean, for some double crop beans planted there about mid-June, I mean, they've got a pod load on them, and they're still trying to develop pods. We got a ton of small pods, and if we can catch a rain, there's a pretty good soybean factory right here. There's going to be some potential, some really good beans. Now, we do have a little bit of frog eye and stuff popping up. However, with no rain in 50 days plus days and no rain in sight, we're not coming in with a fungicide. We're not spending any more money on this crop right now because it's still got a long ways to go, and ultimately, if we don't get any rain, it's not going to yield very much. And plus, with it being hot and dry, even though there's a little bit of disease out here, conditions are not right for the disease just like blowing up and spreading. You know, disease needs moisture to spread. So even though we got a little frog eye in here, it's really not going to advance and progress very much, and really not going to affect the plant. What's affecting the soybeans right now is the drought. And you know, if we were to get a rain here in the next week or so, then I'd consider coming in with a fungicide. But if we don't get that rain, I'm not spending any more money on these beans. I got $93 an acre in these beans right now, and I'm not going to spend another penny on them. Even though right here in this area, the best of the best, we stand a chance of harvesting something. What that yield's going to be, still way too far away to predict, but these beans are still holding on and are still waiting on a rain. If we don't get any rain, I mean, at some point they're going to give up the ghost, and they're a long ways from having any harvestable soybeans in the pods. And then just stepping over here, here's a spot where we had to replant. You can tell these aren't near as high. They're not as far along. We still don't have our real narrow trifolius fully emerged. And then we've got a really good bean factory on here. A lot of potential. These pods aren't near as far along, and these will probably hold on a little bit longer waiting on a rain than what our you know, original planted will. We got some disease coming up, but again, I'm not spending another penny on these soybeans. All right, now that we've seen the best of the best, let's look at some of the worst, which is coincidentally going to be on this farm also. But the main reason I'm out here is not to give y'all a crop tour. I'm making my last scouting for pigweeds, and we got a female Palmer amaranth around there. It looks like it's got the potential to make 200,000 to 300,000 seeds, even in a drought. And we want to make sure we take care of it real good. So give her a good dose of liberty, and we'll move on. All right, the last clip I shot was down there in the bottom. You can tell we're up quite a bit in elevation right here, and we got perhaps some of the thinnest ground I've got. You can tell it looks a whole lot different. I mean, these soybeans are barely even knee tall. You know, there's a fair amount of pods on them, and if we were to get a rain today, there would still be a chance to fill those pods out. However, you can tell our leaves on the bottom are starting to turn. I mean, these soybeans they're right there at the point of giving up the ghost and calling it quits. The only thing saving these beans right now is the heat dome that's been in place for the last week has finally broke. Now, it's still pretty warm out here, don't get me wrong. It's about 92 degrees out here during the day, but the key is nighttime temperatures. We're finally getting down there around 70 degrees, and we're going to be steadily dropping a little bit on our nighttime temperatures as we go out through as we go throughout the next few days. And I think next week they're calling for highs in like the low to mid 80s. If these beans can hang on, that's the only thing keeping them hanging on, because there's literally nothing in the soil keeping these plants alive right now. And that's the only thing that might save our double crop soybean crop, is these cooler temperatures, just letting the soybean not completely shut down, and hopefully at some point we will pick up a rain. I know it's going to rain again here at some point. But like I said, these soybeans are right there at the point of they're done for. And if they are done for, we don't get a rain, I mean, these soybeans won't even be worth combining, because the pods you see, there will literally be nothing in those pods. These won't even yield 2 to 3 bushels an acre probably. There'll literally be nothing to combine out here. And unfortunately, that's going to be the case on a lot of our wheat beans. I'd say at least 50% of our wheat beans are at risk, just like this right here, of not producing anything at all. And then the other 50% is somewhere between, you know, what I showed you down there in the bottom and a little bit better than this. Now, we do have a couple fields up in Madison County totaling 70, 80 acres, something like that, that they've caught a little bit more rain over there, and those beans are not close to giving up. Yield's probably not going to be great, but they've gotten enough rain to keep them alive, to where hopefully one of these days we can get us a good 2 inches of rain that will get these beans back in motion to hopefully start filling out pods again. Next stop up, I'm gonna show you one more field of corn, some hill corn, different variety, just to give you, a couple different glimpses of corn. And we also got cotton to cover. Cotton is going to be the biggest mixed bag I'm gonna have this year out of everything, I believe. All right, over here on Williams, we're looking at what is perhaps my most stressed cotton that I have. Notice I didn't say worst cotton that I'm gonna have. This is the most stressed cotton I'm gonna have. All year long up until now, this has been some of my best looking cotton. We didn't have near as much cover crop to plant into, got a perfect stand, got off to about as early as a good start as the year allowed, set its fruit load and everything. But we've had, out of all of my farms, we've had the least amount of rain here that we have anywhere else. Even some of those spots close to the shop that might have picked up a 1/10 of an inch missed right here. And this cotton just been going on a long time with no rainfall. And
if you look down through the year, we also got a minimal ground cover. So like I said, we did have a cover crop planted, but it was aerial seeded and it was thin, and just don't have the lasting residue that we got in other places. Yeah. It's still got a pretty dang good boll load on it, and that's really what's stressing the cotton so much. It's got quite a few bolls in. But look here on the graph, all of these ways that the plant has a big. Now, that's normal for a cotton plant. Cotton plant always has more fruit on it than what it can physically tolerate and mature out. But this shedding that we're seeing, it's been exacerbated even more. There's a lot of that was shed. I mean, it came from the top of the plant because, the plant can hold what's on the bottom and mature it, but it just didn't have the resources to hold a lot on the top, and it naturally aborted it. Now, what's surprised, we got more top crop up here than what I thought we should have. However, is it going to amount to much yield up here? Look how small those bowls are. Now, still got some immature and out there, and before we get a rain, those did increase in size and increase in weight, but we definitely lost quite a bit of yield on this particular farm. And then look, I just handled that. It's still kicking off. Whereas, and I mean, this is definitely disappointing, because all year long, this was some of my best looking cotton and most promising. We just caught an inch of rain, 1.5 inches of rain there at the end of July, first part of August. This wouldn't look like it. We're seeing some cotton open up, not because it's ready and it's mature. It's because the drought is expressed. Oh, we got a couple more over here. these bowls should be a lot bigger, but, planters that have any resources to make them grow bigger, and I'm surprised it's held on as much windows in the bag. Now, what's this cotton yield? I ain't got a clue. I've been growing cotton by myself for 20 years now, I guess every year, and I'm not close to accurately judging a cotton crop. It is just simply impossible to say. But if I had to guess, this farm right here, maybe between 700-800 pounds, and that might be optimistic. It might be less than that. But for the conditions that it's gone through, I mean, thin, old cattle ground. It looks better than what it should. Our soil health practices are paying. That ain't gonna be the only cotton I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you some better looking cotton, and also some cotton that where we've been farming the ground longer. We've been practicing soil health practices on that ground a little bit longer, and I think you're gonna see quite a bit of difference. All right, from the cotton field, we'll go back to the cornfield. I gotta show you more than one field of corn.
All right, over here we're on what I think is going to be probably the average for my corn crop here in West Tennessee. A lot of our thin hill ground, I think this is where we're going to be as far as average. Now what we're looking at here, I believe we're still in our progeny. This is a Roundup Ready variety, no BT gene in it, just trying to save some money on seed costs, and I think that paid off bigly this year. I mean, look, we got no corn earworm damage whatsoever. Now, these ears right here, they're not the biggest. They're not as big as that decal variety. We're looking at 14 around. This one is 16 around. They're about that 36 to 37 kernels long. So we've got the kernel count to make decent corn on this farm, at least what this farm should be capable of supporting. We're not shooting for any big yields on this farm. We're shooting to produce sustainable yields that can make us a little bit of profit on there. Let's take one of these ears off, break it open, see what it looks like. All right, now looking at this, we got pretty good kernel depth, but we've got some pretty dang thin kernels, especially towards the base. And if you look at the base right there, you can see that milk line did not make it all the way down to the base of the corn plant. So we're going to have some pretty light kernels right here, though. This corn is at black layer, and it didn't matter if it's black layer or not. I mean, the corn ain't doing nothing else. It's completely dead. So just like on a lot of our corn, we've got the kernel count to have really respectable yields, good enough yields to make a profit, but we're not going to have the kernel weight to have the good yields. What is this corn right through here going to yield? I don't know, 120, 130 bushels maybe, when we need 166 to break even. And the funny thing was, this is the cornfield I was really bragging on all year long about being the most uniform cornfield, the best looking corn. And it was the best looking field of corn until it just plain old ran out of moisture towards the end of July, first part of August, and then it's just been downhill since there. Will I plant this prodigy variety again? Yeah, I will, especially at the price point, because looking at the ears, it's capable of making good grain. It's a heck of a lot cheaper to plant than what decal is, and I think for my fields that don't have real high production potential, this is a good variety and makes a lot of sense to produce, like I said, sustainable yields that I can actually make a profit on without a big price tag attached to that crop. But unfortunately, just like the majority of my corn in Crockett County, it just flat out ran out of moisture. Now, we're going to have a lot better corn than this. My corn in Madison County, it caught an extra at least inch of rain a few weeks after this got its last rain. Plus the ground is stouter up there. We got deeper topsoils before we get to the fragipan. We got more bottom ground up there. And up there, we're going to have significantly better yields. So overall this year, I think we're going to have perhaps the most variable crop I've ever had, and definitely going to be the most variable crop that I've ever shown you. I think we're going to see probably most likely the worst soybean yields in places that we've ever had. And then I think in a few other spots, you know, we could be showing you some of the best soybean yields we've ever had. And it's going to be the same way on cotton. I haven't shown you our good cotton. Hopefully I'll get to it tomorrow or Saturday. But I'm probably going to be showing you perhaps some of the worst cotton yields that we've ever had on a few farms. You know, as far as corn goes, no, the worst corn yields we've ever had were in 2022. And we might have a few acres yield that low this year, but overall as a whole crop, no, we're not going to be anywhere close to 2022. But I do think on some ends of the field, you know, we might be 80, 90 bushels. Other end of the field, drop off down the bottom, we could be 200 plus. It's just going to be, it's going to be the most variable crop I've ever produced, no doubt about it. And before we leave this cotton farm, I just want to show you just how variable it is. You know, where we just were, I showed you how stressed it was. And we drop off in a little flat, and man, look at that cotton. I mean, it's loaded up with bolls. Leaves not showing a lot of signs of stress, not as much disease, growing nice and good and rank, and I mean, it's still flowering and trying to set fruit. Look, still you know, plenty of top crop here. You know, this farm, you know, even though it might only average 700, I mean, there's going to be some spots like this that's probably 1,200 plus. Problem is, it's just a very small minority part of the farm. All right, one more quick corn crop update. I've had several viewers want to update on the sweet corn. Well, there's our update on the sweet corn. Now, our sweet corn has been long harvested. I didn't film it, and actually the yield on it was about as disappointing as the rest of my other crops have been. Not due to drought or anything, but due to the freaking coons that absolutely devastate. My raccoons took about at least 50% of my sweet corn crop, and I planted right behind my in-laws' house, hoping that maybe the proximity of the house would keep them out of there. No. Every night raccoons will come out here, pick ears before it was ready to be harvested. They take it over there to my in-laws' garage, shuck it and eat it, and leave the corn cobs and everything else right by their garage. The gall of these raccoons around here, I'm telling you what. But yep, that's the update on the sweet corn crop. It was just as bad as what everything else is going to be. Here's proof here that I was not joking about the raccoons taking the sweet corn and carrying it over here to the garage and having a feast. Tell you what, that beats all I've ever seen. There, right there's a glimpse of our corn maze still holding green, and for the life of me, I have no idea how it's still hanging on, because it's been grown with literally no moisture. And like I said, that's why we fungicided today, just to keep it green and healthy as long as it can. So hopefully it's still standing whenever the zombie trail starts up. All right, guys, we're about to run out of daylight for a crop tour today. I found a few more patches of pigweed than what I thought I had. Well, we'll wrap it up with some of our a lot better looking crops here in a day or so. All right, we're back on a crop tour today. 2 days later, we're now on, I think it's day 53 of the drought. I've done lost track, and I wasn't going to really stop out here. I was trying to keep this video reasonable length, but there's some stuff out here I'm seeing that I want to show you. We're up here on my mom's house, and some of that we didn't have to replant. Right here is where we're really seeing the benefits of what we've done with soil health over the years. We're really finally starting to see the improvements after 10 years of some high biomass, high management cover crops. But anyway, looking at this, I mean, yes, this cotton is drooping its head. We're in the heat of the day. It's above 90 degrees out here, and it is looking drought stressed. However, after 53 days with, you know, very marginal rain, it should be looking a lot worse. But let's look a little bit closer at the plants right here. You know, we got a reasonable boll load on it. It has kicked some bolls and squares off, which is absolutely normal for cotton. Even in a good year, it's normal for it to kick stuff off. Well, look up here in the top of the crop where, well, this is where we really should be seeing the effects of the drought. We shouldn't be seeing anything in the top of the plant. Look, we got a nice size bowl there that if we get a rain will continue to grow. Same way here, if we get a rain it will continue to grow. But look up here at the very top, this stuff should have been aborted. I mean, we got a square right there that has bloomed and it's not coming off. This plant's going to try its dang best to hold it on there. Look up here in the very top of the crop. I mean, we're pretty much bloomed out, but look, that's not being kicked off. That's not being kicked off. There's an older one. It's still on there. This stuff, the plant should be shedding this stuff like crazy because really it shouldn't have the resources to hold that on there. Now we look down here. Here's a square that's been aborted. It's going off. There's a good chance, I mean, these two right here that are blooming, they'll be aborted. It doesn't matter. There's not enough growing season left for those to make harvestable plants anyway. But look right here. Here's one that's been aborted. But that one, it's going to try and keep on it. Now, if we don't get more rain out, that's not going to produce anything. I mean, there's not going to be hardly any cotton in there. But if we can still catch a rain, so even this top crop that it shouldn't have, could produce something. And that's what we're seeing this year. We haven't drought proofed our crop to where we're still going to see really good yields even in the face of a drought. But what we have seen is our crops holding on far longer than they ever would have before. And if we got in a rain last week, that could have turned this crop around. Still, if we get a rain today, there's still a chance for some of this stuff to produce. And basically that's what we're trying to do with soil health. We're trying to buy our crops enough time to where if we do get a rain, they can benefit from it, from where if we're just in a strictly no-till situation, if we got a rain last week, if we got a rain this week, it really wouldn't benefit the crop at all because it had gone downhill and was beyond saving. I mean, you see all this residue and stuff, I mean, it is finally paying off. And like I said, it's taken us 10 years to get here. However, if I'd been doing some of the things that I'm doing right now, especially in regards to annual ryegrass, I think we would be a lot farther along. We would have sped this up. I've only seriously been really using annual ryegrass, which is, I think, was really where it's giving us the benefits, breaking up that fragipan. We've only been seriously doing it, about 3 years now. So if we come this far in 10 years, where are we going to be 10 years from now? Are we finally going to have drought-proofed our soils? I don't know, but I tell you what, we're going to do our best to find out. All right, I realize that the vast majority of this crop tour has been pretty much doom and gloom, and I want to show you that, yes, we are going to have some good crops. So I decided to bring y'all up here in Madison County, and here we are in a bottom cornfield that's got the most rain out of all. We actually got like about an inch of rain about a week ago on this corn, which was late, and it's still been hurt by drought. It's especially been hurt by hot weather, but we're going to have some really respectable yields here. Anyway, I just shook back some few ears, and I mean, look at that. I mean, we got some nice size ears here. These are all 16 to 18 around. Actually, this variety here is decal. I think it's either 6837 or 6839, but it's the Roundup Ready version of 6835, one of decal's most popular high yielding varieties in this area. This one does not have the BT gene in it. Now, this being a 118-day corn, really risky not having the BT gene in there because you can get corn earworms and corn borers in here to hurt it. But look at this. We got a little bit tip back here, but we're not seeing any kind of feeding from corn earworms, and we got just a tad bit on this ear. So our decision to go save on seed cost and go with a non-BT version in this variety, it's really paying off. But we're gonna have some good yields right here. And then looking at breaking open the ear, I mean, look how deep those kernels are. They're not narrow at the base. These going to be close to normal size kernels, not the heaviest that we could have made, because you can see right there on the left, we're not at black layer yet. That milk line is close to the bottom, but not all the way. And then look at the conditions of the plants. They're fired up, but we're definitely going to see some better yields here than we did back in Crockett County. Unfortunately, this farm is only 30 acres out of the 490 acres that we've got planted, but we are going to have some good corn. And then we've got another bottom field a little bit up the road, should be pretty close to this, and then we got a pretty and about 20% of our acreage is on a hill ground up there. Gotten a little bit more rain than Crockett County, so we should see a little bit better yields up there. But this corn harvest is not going to be all doom and gloom. There will be a few bright spots. Unfortunately, those spots are not going to be big enough to turn us an overall profit this year. All right, back out here in the cotton field up here at Porter Cable, and this cotton looks a little bit different than what I've shown you previously, isn't it? I mean, we're on some ground where, you know, we've been practicing soil health practices a good long time. It's also bottom ground, and I'd say this cotton up here has gotten probably about 3/10 of an inch more than what we got back home. But the main difference is we just got a lot deeper soils up here. The ground is a lot better, not needing repaired near as much as our ground in Crockett County. And I mean, this cotton is loaded up. There's bowls everywhere out there, and we still got every bit of the top crop. It's starting to kick some squares off, which is completely natural. The cotton plant cannot hold everything that blooms, but it's holding a lot of it on there. Even looking up here at the top now, this up here that's about to bloom, I mean, this doesn't stand a chance of making a harvest bowl. There's just not enough time left. But you look down here a little bit lower, one node lower, I mean, there's a chance that might make something before we got it defrost. And like that right there, it's just kicking it off. I mean, we've already got a fair size 5-lock bowl on there. Kick that one off, and then it's trying to set this one. Of course, this one's not going to make. But the funny thing is this field right here, we had to replant a part of it. And the dividing line was somewhere right here, but I can't find to the exact road. Normally, in a normal year, the replanted cotton, you'd easily be able to tell by the crop stage that it's definitely farther behind, but I'm having a hard time really finding it. I mean, I think this might be the row right here. See, this over here is a little bit shorter, and this is a little bit more growthy. It's because we treated all the same with PGR, and this has gotten just a little bit out of hand before we got a PGR on it. And then whereas this was more timely, just due because the plant was younger. But even looking up here, I mean, it's blooming here in the top, just like it is over here. So all of our replanted cotton, because it's been so hot this summer, our replanted cotton has caught up with our original planted cotton. And one of my big concerns when I was replanting was, oh my gosh, it's going to be late, it's not going to mature, everything else. But I didn't know we were going to have an above average normal temperature summer, and that's really sped the maturity and helped our replanted cotton. So we might be in a bottom down here, but on top of the hill, the cotton doesn't quite look this good, but it still looks really good. I'd say that could still make above 1,000 pounds, might even be 1,100-1,200. I don't know. It's got some pretty good looking cotton up there. We got another 50-acre bottom on the other side of the trees of this 30-acre bottom. So we got about 180 acres up here in this block that I think we're going to have some really respectable cotton. But not going to be record yields, but it's going to be really, really respectable. And I'm looking forward to picking this because I should have fun with that baler picker up here. We ought to be spitting out a whole lot of modules. All right, another really quick stop here. We're still here in Madison County. You can tell this cotton don't look so hot. Now we are on a very productive hill ground. We're not deep bottom ground. But the thing is, I haven't been farming this farm about, I think, 5 years. And yeah, we've practiced soil health practices. Look at all that residue. But we just haven't had near the time to get the ground up to where we want to, like we have on a lot of our ground back in Crockett County. That's worse ground, but the cotton that I showed you earlier today definitely looks a lot better than this. And this has actually had more rain than what that ground in Crockett County has. But like I said, it's white ground. It can be productive, but once it gets hot and dry, it quickly reaches a point of no return. And that's what we're seeing here. You know, a week ago, this cotton looked significantly better, but it's like it hit the wall and all of a sudden it is shut down and it's going backwards. And that's what white type ground does. Now hopefully we keep on farming this farm another 5 years, cover crops and everything else. Hopefully, you know, we get another drought, it'll look significantly better. That's the thing with our soil health practices. It's not an immediate quick fix. It's not a silver bullet. It's a management tool that takes time to operate before you really get all the benefits out of it. And on a lot of our farms, we've been farming a long time, we're seeing those benefits. The farms that we haven't farmed as long, we're still on the road to get them there, and still relatively early in the process. All right, we're going to end the crop tour out here in my other field of full season beans. You know, I showed you how awful the ones in Crockett County were on the hill ground, and then how good the ones in the bottom were going to be. And well, this farm, it's primarily all bottom. However, this is white type ground, just like the cotton. We're on the same field as the cotton I just showed you, but the soils are deeper, even though it is white ground. You can see, like, you see that streak of yellow and brown. I mean, that's just kind of what this soil does. But overall here, these beans look pretty decent. Now they're starting to lodge pretty bad, but they're loaded up with pods. Got quite a bit of pods on them. Problem is you know, the pods are probably not going to fill out all the way. I think we're going to have some BBs on this farm, but you know, these probably should be you know, 70, 80 plus bushel beans. And as it is, I'm expecting these probably to be, you know, maybe, you know, probably 50, maybe 60 bushel beans, just because we're not going to have the bean size we need to make what these things are capable of. Now, most of this field is still green. If we were to happen to get a rain, it would go a long ways towards improving the bean size and the yield. However, there's no rain forecast for the next 7 days. We're gonna have mild temperatures, but no rain forecast. So you know, they're starting to drop leaves on the bottom. I mean, they're hurt by the drought. But anyway, right here, I think we're gonna have some pretty respectable yields for the year that we've had. Bottom line is, there's no question about it, soybeans, full season and double crop is far and away going to be my worst crop that we got this year. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And it's going to be a toss-up between which is my number one, corn or cotton. I don't know. We're going to have some really good corn. We're going to have some really bad corn. We're going to have some really good cotton, some really bad cotton. Where it all averages out, I don't know which one's going to make us the most money, or really lose us the least amount of money. I really don't know yet. But the one thing that this crop tour has confirmed for me is, even though we're going to be in the red this year, no doubt about it, our cover crop practices are paying off. Has implementing cover crops the last 10 years improved our yield prospects and withstanding drought and other things? Absolutely. Are we where we need to be yet? Absolutely not. I'd say we're about halfway in our soil health progression, and hopefully another 10 years, if I can keep on doing this, you know, if we have another 2025 and say 2035, I would expect to see a lot different results in that year. But I do know if we had had a 2025 in 2015, the yields would have been way worse. There's absolutely no doubt about that in my mind. So anyway, guys, that's going to conclude our 2025 crop tour. All that's left is wait for the crops to be ready, bring the combine, cotton picker in here, and see where the yields actually land this year. I think there's going to be a whole lot of bad, but I think there's going to be some good scattered in there too. So anyway, guys, appreciate y'all watching. See you in the next one.